Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. A decidedly not stupid, very stupid o'clock to all. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And I'm happy to say, thus far, since getting the shot yesterday, no fevers, no chills, just a swollen arm on this side. I've had to be very gentle with it. But thus far, no ill effects from the COVID shot. Go get it done, folks. My mom is tired of having to assist in shipping your butts to other hospitals. That's not even her job. Just saying. On one hand, yes, we've got to do more to get people with disabilities to the doctors so they too can get their shots. Quit thinking it's some willful thing on our side, folks. It's not. Remember, not everybody has access to ready transportation. A lot of us disabled folks, well, we have to plan days, months, even sometimes in advance in order to be able to get what we need in order to survive. So, folks, get it done. Now, done with my PSA, folks, I am moving on. And I'm sorry that you're seeing my email right here. Let me get out of that. We're going back to that horrible, horrible world known as the JRC, picking up where we left off. But before we get started, a few disclaimers. You are going to see the link to this amazingly long bit of garbage on Judge Bernstein's behalf in the description, along with Autistic Hoya's massive archive in regards to this case. The templates, sign your name, click on your senator. For the love of God, folks, get it done. And the change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition, because let's face it, none of these kids are really going to be safe. None of our dead are truly going to have justice until this place is closed down and they are never allowed to harm a disabled person ever again. Another disclaimer. Any of you sons of bitches who want to come in here and start talking to me about how I don't understand and but they're the worst of the worst, bullshit. And even if they were, they still deserve a hell of a lot better than being shot to death for quote unquote non-compliance. All right. Also, when we are talking about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of, as well as see clips from video surveillance video of, people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, for God's sake, wear your headphones at the very least. Also, if I stumble over any of my words this morning, I'm still a little exhausted. I did a lot of running yesterday, so my apologies in advance. And without further ado, let's see what the changes the JRC has made. Maybe make the most important change of all. Close down. Just saying is all. All right, let's go ahead and get into this dumpster fire. Square shoulders. Here we go. After the 2007 incident, the JRC created a new policy on good judgment, which states in part that staff should not follow any directive that compromises the safety and well-being of a student and should notify JRC administration if such a directive is given. Oh, holy. That's cute. That's cute. Considering everything you do there compromises the safety and well-being of every single student there and the mental health of your employees, judge. Judge. That's my argument, folks. Not every judge makes a rational, well thought out decision. The next time one of you fuckers try and justify your absolute following of a verdict of a judge, may I present Exhibit A on why the judge is not always right. Just read this document. Tell me again a judge is always right. Go ahead. I'll wait. Okay, moving on. Hair's bushy this morning, folks. It's kind of annoying. Moving on. The policy also details how staff should report such directives and states that the failure to report is grounds for disciplinary action, up to and including termination. How does that work when everything you do goes against safety and well-being of your students? Should I report everything that you order to you every day? How does that work? Oh, but we don't harm them. Sure you don't. Staff is encouraged to ask questions if they do not understand a particular policy or procedure, so you can brainwash them. Staff is also encouraged to use good judgment through the receipt of rewards and benefits when concerning behavior is reported. Oh, here we go again. Let's justify why we torture people. New staff are trained and quizzed on this policy during basic training. You mean your 3 weeks you give students who just graduated high school, and then you tell them they can work in the mental health field? You mean that basic training? New staff receive a card during basic training with the cell phone numbers of several administrators, including the interim director Glenda Cooks, and they are encouraged to contact these individuals with questions or concerns. Oh, so they can allay them with their bogus propaganda bullshit? Gotcha. Current policies and procedures. Reporting directives inconsistent with JRC policies and procedures using good judgment. Oh, God. Ready yourself for the garbage, folks. Ready ourselves for the garbage. During basic training, trainers provide staff with a copy of the JRC's policy on good judgment, which states in part that staff should not follow any directive that compromises the safety and well-being of a student and should notify JRC administration if such a directive is given. I'd be in there every day. I got a list, and it like would fall to the ground. Yeah. There are no negative consequences if a staff contacts an administrator to question a directive. Really? I call bullshit. But failure to report deviations from JRC policies and practices and or to report abuse or neglect will result in severe disciplinary action up to and including termination. Y'all should be terminated from your jobs. You shouldn't have jobs. You belong in a jail cell. The only ones who don't are the ones who see through your insanity and leave. Furthermore, reporting any discrepancies will earn staff advancement credit that will be considered when determining promotions, bonuses, and other benefits. Wow. So if you go and tell on staff for not following procedures, by the way, folks, not doing procedures includes not shocking someone when the monitor tells you to. That still goes on, even after this 2007 report. Don't believe me? Go read the testimony of Jennifer Masumba. Go look at her behavior sheet. See, we don't just have victims, we have documents that all say otherwise. My God, you really didn't investigate at all, did you, Judge? The trainer must also tell staff that they are not to assume that JRC supervisors or coworkers are always carrying out their duties in accordance with JRC policies and should be alert to the possibility of hostile persons impersonating JRC supervisors. Trainers are instructed to question if staff have ever been asked to do something that goes against JRC policies and procedures, or if they have ever given such a directive themselves, and are instructed to ask staff to provide examples of directives they were not comfortable with, without supplying any names or dates. Oh, we gotta protect the uppers, of course. Staff is provided with 7 scenarios where there is a discrepancy between a directive given and the trainers discuss appropriate actions and steps to take. Trainers must also provide staff with information about supervisory groups, the JRC organizational chart, and the administrative phone numbers. At the end of the training, staff is required to take a brief quiz because that's going to be enough. Current policy on inappropriate conversations. Oh dear God, here we go. JRC employees cannot engage in inappropriate conversations with staff or other people about students, which includes comments they may tend to degenerate, degrade, threaten, or belittle students in any manner, as well as comments of a sexual nature. Everything you do degrades these students. No talking out after you shock them. You remember that? Employees cannot discuss their own or another staff member's personal life or gossip with or in front of any students. A student interviewed for this report told interviewers that she became upset when she overheard a staff person discussing her personal file during school hours. The student immediately reported the infraction to her case manager. Current policy on staff-student integration. Staff cannot socialize or engage in social conversations or activities with students. They should not engage in informal discussions with students. Staff members should direct students to discuss personal issues with their case managers and clinicians. Or, God forbid, they talk to their parents about the shit you all get up to. Staff may not engage in conversations with former students while staff is working at residences. Wow, you're going to try to control who they talk to in their personal life, including your victims. Surprise. Administrative staff may engage in a brief, polite conversation with former students at the school regarding an appropriate subject matter. I wonder what you consider appropriate. Direct care staff may do so as well, as long as the classroom supervisor feels it can be done safely. Outside the work environment, JRC strongly suggests that staff do not interact with former students, but if staff does, JRC asks they maintain a professional demeanor. Your all's definition of professional is fucked, I'm just saying. All direct care staff interviewed did not report experiencing difficulties abiding by this policy, although some noted that it could be more challenging with the higher functioning clients. Oh dear Jesus Christ, could you stop with the high functioning and the low functioning? That just shows your complete misunderstanding of autism entirely. Guess what? I fluctuate all the time. Have you all seen me at Stupid O'Clock do these videos? I stumble over my words. I have pauses where it's difficult for me to speak. Sometimes I can barely function at all. The functioning level fluctuates all the time. That's why we hate these labels of high functioning and low functioning. And if you're in a mental health care facility, which, by the way, you have no business dealing with us unless we are dealing with a separate mental health issue in the first place. But that being said, if you are a worker in the field, you need to scrub this idea of high functioning and low functioning completely out of your head. It does a lot of harm for a lot of reasons. For one thing, When you use these labels, you all have this concept in your heads that high functioning folks like me just have what I was told a long time ago, just a dash of autism. Like I'm a part of some weird freaking recipe that I'm unaware of. Which means when challenges come up, when functionability starts to fluctuate, we get ignored. We're being told we're acting up, that we're, in JRC language, having behaviors. It shows a gross misunderstanding of an idea of fluctuating functionability. Okay? It makes it that much more difficult to treat us properly in a medical setting and even in a mental health setting. Because when people get ignored because they are considered high functioning and they have a burnout moment or their functionability that day takes a nosedive, and yet we are not getting the help that we need during those days, how do you think that affects our mental health? How do you think it affects our whole sense of self? Yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. Student staff supervision and safety. God, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here because we covered quite a bit, folks. But this judge seems to be under the impression that is, if we just tweak a little thing here and tweak a little thing there, we won't have situations like this. While he continues to absolutely ignore the culture around him that has created situations like Andre McCone's, like the August 26, 2007 incidents, like the incidents reported by Jennifer Masumba, by Tori, by Andrew, by the anonymous girl whose letter we read. This school cultivates a culture of torture. It cultivates a culture of complete, total disregard and dehumanization of the students that they have there. They take away their autonomy, their right to privacy, their right to their own things. The list goes on. These kids might as well be in prison. And after that, it only gets worse. Okay? You are, again, Judge, missing the forest for the trees. Instead of helping these kids, you are actually helping the JRC tighten and making it that much harder for kids who are locked in this place to get out the word of what's happening to them. You're not making them safer, Judge. You're making them even less safe than what they already were. And on those thoughts, folks, I'm going to go ahead and close out for this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments, feed that algorithm. I do appreciate your time this morning, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. And before we close out, folks, yes, I am waiting to get more info in regards to the situation of Saban Che. And more than likely, while I'm waiting on that information, a little bit later, I'm going to be covering some of the coverage in regards to JD getting his Donosta Award today. But I'm just going to keep waiting because, yeah, nothing big has been reported thus far. All right, folks. I hope you have a good one.